For those of you who know me personally, or at least those that have been fans of the channel for a while, thank you so much. You know that my favorite nation is Dragon Empire, and you know that I build almost every Dragon Empire deck, or at least the ones that is still within my budget / I have the time to research and build. And the deck that I picked up at the end of Overdress, which came out at the end of Overdress, was Zedhlans. Right, I did Zedhlans deck profile. I did it twice in Divines with Justina. Nobody really cared, and to be fair, Bushiroad didn't care either. They did give Zedhlans support in DZ VTO 3, but it was so bad, like nobody plays it, and I'll explain why in a bit. But the recent new Festival Booster 2025, as I've been covering on this channel slowly, gave us a very surprising, simple double rare, which has easily changed the course of this deck virtually forever. And if you happen to be a fan of Zedhlans or Corti Blaze, or but more specifically Zedhlans, and you have this card, hold on to it for as long as you can, because this card will frankly be around until Vanguard reboots. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Mr. here. Today I am back to talk about Zedhlans in Divines in 2025. Festival Booster 2025 has frankly been the turning point for me when it comes to Dragon Empire decks. I know for the last few sets, and especially for the Vajra start deck, I've been pretty pessimistic about Dragon Empire. However, upon seeing its further reveals, as well as some of the newer stuff like C-Build, although I won't be building it due to monetary reasons, but I am pretty happy and excited for all of them, because so far it looks like Dragon Empire is finally getting up. Dragon Empire for the last two sets, from DZ BTO 7, DZ BTO 8, and some might even argue in DZ BTO 6, or DZ BTO 5, is that the Dragon Empire decks were either overtuned or undertuned, right? You either get broken ass shit in Balsagra, or you get something pretty weak in Vermilion. Zedhlans here today is different, and he is a good sign to what Dragon Empire is, where the decks finally feel fair and actually good. They don't feel over nerfed like Vermilion, it doesn't feel over forced like Balsagra. But I'm going to talk about this deck, the weaknesses of this deck that it used to have, especially in the previous deck profiles. I'll link the last Divines explained for Zedhlans, but I'm also going to spend quite a fair bit of time to talk about what the thumbnail would have highlighted to you, and that's this guy. And why, in my testing of this guy, for this deck, as well as bringing this to multiple tournaments, I am frankly very impressed by this deck. And why I may even bring this deck to WGP, who knows at this point. So let's get right into it. So our right deck is still the same Zedhlans. I frankly, unfortunately, was not able to finish my whole right deck in terms of the FR due to my WGP participation rates. So that does pretty suck. But it is a nice right deck. It is cool, you know, to see Zedhlans, you know, kind of growing up as from a little kid. And, you know, he gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So it is kind of funny. But let's actually talk about the right deck as a whole. So first and foremost, I'll start off with the Grade 0. The Grade 0 is just Zedhlans. It's a little baby Zedhlans. Now, the thing about Zedhlans is that you need to play the full right line, because the Grade 1 Zedhlans, which is Rising Smith Zedhlans, so funny, it's like Rising Star Vajra. When this unit rides upon a Grade 0 with Zedhlans in its card name, you can search the top 5 cards in your deck for a Wrought Iron or Wrought Iron. I have no idea how they pronounce this in English. Wrought Iron card from among them, and then you add it to your hand, and then you shuffle the deck. So Zedhlans does have an in archetype. It's called Wrought Iron or Wrought Iron. But the fun thing about this Iron archetype is that not all his support is actually named Wrought Iron. So that is kind of the issue, where some of the Zedhlans support didn't have this name, which is why they end up either being cut from the deck or just being severely bad. And you will see later in this deck profile, I'm trying to maximize the Wrought Iron names, but the good names specifically. So generally speaking, that's why this skill is good. But this skill is also pretty good because it actually allows you to search out the double rare, who fortunately, for some strange reason, despite being a Corti Blaze support, does carry the Wrought Iron name. So yeah, I'll get to him in a bit. You will see why in a bit. He is insanely strong, okay? The Grade 2 is he bears the name now. This is Wrought Iron Dragon Zedhlans. And when this unit is placed by riding on top of a Grade 1 Zedhlans, search your deck for a Smith card, reveal it, and add it to hand. So Dragon Empire is finally, I can't say the word finally, right? Dragon Empire has dipped into Brandgate's territory with the use of set orders. And basically what it does is that you set a set order, then you can tap it once per turn and rest it once per turn, and then you get some effects. But the thing is that Zedhlans couldn't really speed up setting this card. It had pretty consistent ways to do it. It had Zedhlans itself, who I will explain later, as well as later on Justina, who could search it, but no real way to actually, speed it up. But we'll speed it up in a very unconventional way later. So generally with this, you will search out one smith and then you will set it. Okay, so that's pretty much it. The grade 3 is Wrought Iron Dragon King Zedhlans. Again, if I'm mispronouncing his name in English, I'm so sorry. This is not a name I can pronounce. When this unit is placed by writing from a unit with Zedhlans in its card name, so it can count either the grade 2 or a persona right. Okay, so that is pretty nice. You can Soul Blast 1, search your deck or drop for Smith card. Search your deck or drop for a set order, even better. Add it to your hand. And if you search the deck, shuffle the deck. So generally, you can now not only search just the Smith set order, you can search other set orders in Dragon Empire. And I know what you're saying, is there another set order in Dragon Empire? Yes, there is. There's actually about 1 to 2 others. One of them is the Festival Booster 2024 one, which gives your unit boost, and one of them is from DZBTO 6, who gives you energy. Unfortunately, neither of these are actually relevant options for the deck today, but the fact that Zedhlans has an open-ended clause for its grade 3 Vanguard, it is nice, okay? So that means in the future, you can actually tag in some other set orders to play. But for now, we just play for Forge, and that's pretty much okay. Now, the main problems with Zedhlans come from its second skill, which is when this unit attacks Counterblast 1, and this unit gets Drive plus 1 until the end of the turn. If your unit was chosen by the ability of your Smith in the Order Zone 3 or more times this turn, at the end of this battle, stand this unit, it gets plus 10,000 and Drive minus 3. It's not bad. It is a CB1 V-stand, although you cut off all your drives after getting 3 drives, so, that is pretty yikes. But you'll see there's a way around this later. The problem is that it needs you to use your Smith 3 times in the Order Zone. You need to target 3 units. And that allows me to segue into the Smith itself. The Smith itself is the main heart of this deck, and I'm being very literal about it. This is the main card that, this deck plays around. So what does it do? Well, of course, this is the Fabled Smith order, and it has a very simple but, straightforward skill. You can play this if you have a Vanguard with Zedhlans in its card name. You rest this card in the Order Zone, and it's not once per turn, so you just rest it. And then you choose one of your units, and it gains 5 until the end of this turn. If you choose a unit with Wrought Iron, which is of course their keyword, you can until the end of your opponent's next turn, this unit gets intercept and 5,000 power. So generally, you just rest it, choose a unit, gain 5, and then if it's of the in archetype, you can also give it 5,000 shield and intercept, which is not bad. Of course, it's only intercept in the front row, so don't bother putting it to the back row. To note that the Smith itself does actually bear the archetype name of Wrought Iron, so you can actually search this out with the grade 1 skill. Not sure why you would, but you can. So generally, since it's a grade 2 order, I'm sure it's pretty obvious, you set 1, and then you get 1 on turn 2. You set 2, and you get 1 on turn, you get 2 on turn 3. And then on turn 4, then you actually get to set the third one, and then you can rest all 3. Now, that means that Zedhlans' restand skill, if you use it literally, you only can apply it on turn 4. And by then, you're most likely dead. And that's why Zedhlans was arguably the weakest Dragon Empire deck, even weaker than Eugene, for a very, very long time, because this is a pretty crap restand that only applies, on turn 4. I played Zedhlans before this card, and I can tell you it was frankly really bad. Like, I tried as much as I could, but it was just very difficult. Now, that begs the question, so Amis, how exactly did we solve this deck? Well, we solved this deck with 1 card in Festival. It's a simple, not very deceiving 80 yen card, and this is it. This is from Festival Booster 2025. If you have never seen him before, he is pretty new and in a pretty large review set, but if not, I'll go through it with you. This is Wrought Iron Knight Sharburn, and he's the reason why, this deck, I dare say, is pretty good. First and foremost, this is the first Wrought Iron Knight, I believe, so that's actually a pretty nice keyword. Unless I'm wrong and there's a second one that I'm not aware of, but Wrought Iron Knight Sharburn, this is pretty cool. Now, why does he solve this deck? First and foremost, his skill text is very weirdly phrased, but I'll break it down for you. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with either Quality Blaze or Zedhlans in its card name, this unit gets boost and all of the following. When this unit is placed on a rearguard circle, choose a Smith card from your order zone and you can stand it. If you don't, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card from among them, put into your soul and shuffle. The second skill, auto on Vanguard once per turn. At the end of the battle that your Vanguard attacked, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you can discard a card from your hand, and you can choose one of the following. You either choose one of your Vanguards and increase or decrease its drive to 1 until end of the turn, or all of your Faro units get 5 until the end of the turn. Okay, so that was quite a lot of text, and it's for good reason. First and foremost, this guy just gets boost for fun. I don't even know why they gave this card boost, but it is so impactful for Zedhlans because Zedhlans only has 1 rearguard with boost in its entire arsenal, and that's its 1 grade 1, right? So it being able to also have boost meant a lot for Zedhlans, because in the past we used to play a lot of weird ass grade 1s to try and give us that benefit. You don't need to. This guy comes with boost naturally. It is really nice. Although his skills only trigger when your Vanguard's grade 3 or greater with Quality Blaze or Zedhlans, so this isn't a traditional grade 2 gamer for Dragon Empire. That's completely fine. His on-play skill lets you choose one of your Smiths and stand it, which means now, even if you have 2 Forge and you rest 2, by placing one of him, you stand it, you can use it a 3rd time, which means your Zedhlans restand now triggers 1 entire turn earlier, and that is massive, right? So basically, your entire game plan goes online a whole turn earlier. Not to mention his second skill, which is at the end of the battle. What happens is you can either give your Vanguard the Sequana effect, where you change his drives back to 1. So basically what happens is, he swings, he drives -3, he stands, he sets his drive back to 1, from 0 to 1. So basically, at net 0, because you do have to discard a card for it, you actually get a drive check back. And that is very threatening for a guy who literally just did triple drive and restands with plus 10,000. Trust me, if Ziegenberg got away to get another drive back for free, I will tell you, hey, you may want to collect your WGP trophy on the way out. But, the fact that this guy just does it with an on-place double rare, I mean, that's pretty good. To note that the on-place is only for the standard Forge, the second skill actually is kept just whenever, whatever, right? If you just have him on the board from the past turn, you can use that effect as well, as long as your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater. But frankly, I don't even think that matters anymore, right? If you have 2 copies of Sharburn on the field, you can just discard 2 cards and apply both effects. You can just change your Vanguard's drive back to 1, whole front row gains 5. Insane. And given that this card is basically the strongest card in your deck right now, you will hard mulligan for this guy no matter what. This is like 100% you need to draw in this by turn 3 or you lose, right? Because Zedhlans' weaknesses all kick back in the second you just don't find him. So again, it's not too bad because you do have mechanisms to search for him, but we'll show you later the rest of the deck and why I believe it's still alright. We play a lot of different cards to help us draw, and that will ensure we can open Sharburn by turn 3, and that actually gives you a pretty good future for this deck. The grade 3s for this deck, we simply play this. This is all we are playing. This is 4 copies of Zedhlans total. We don't play the other Wrought Iron grade 3s because they are all pretty bad. They are all pretty bad, so I just cut it out of the deck. I'm not even going to bother with them. So if you're a fan of Fierce Galer, I'm very sorry. Our grade 2s, as I mentioned earlier, we are playing the grade 2 Zedhlans. So again, if you forgot what he does, just scroll back a bit. We play Sharburn at 4, obviously. I mentioned what Sharburn does, so just check the timestamp. We play 4 copies of the Forge because you absolutely do need to. The rest of our grade 2s all meant to serve. We play some cyclists in the form of 4 Fahad and 2 copies of Conflagun. Sorry, you can't see that. 2 copies of Conflagun. And then we also play 1 copy of Twin Cast. And our other main Wrought Iron attacker is this guy. So let me just slowly cover all of that with you. Again, we've already covered what the Forge does as well as what Sharburn does in its individual timestamp. So just scroll backwards. We've already covered the grade 2 in the right deck. I'm not going to cover him again. Then we play Twin Cast as 1. This deck, as much as it has quite a fair bit of shield from the Forge and whatnot, you still do need more defense. It's not that good of a deck, let's be honest. So, this is still necessary. We play a total of 6 cyclists in the form of 4 Fahad and 2 copies of Conflagun. The thing about the thing about Cultiblaze is that no matter how good the support is, strangely it doesn't use energy. It's a free skill, which I have no idea why. But that does mean Zedhlans has 0 energy users till today. So you will need to use Farhat, you will need to use cards like Unite the Sky, you will need to use your energy to convert it to draw so that you can find your key pieces. By key piece, you know, I just mean him. But that's generally the idea of this deck right now. You just need to draw as much as possible to find it. In the future, when Zedhlans, you know, does get more energy support, I probably will update this video and talk about what the new Zedhlans does. But right now, this is generally the way to play. The reason why I'm not playing for Conflagon is very simple. I just have no space. But if you want to play 4-4, I think it's fine. Last but not least, our final Wrought Iron Grade 2. This guy is really strong and really important. He's one of the few cards from the first wave that I dare say will stay in the deck for a while as well. This is Wrought Iron Soldier Dragon Lightning Surge Dragon. So, alright, glad to see that Narukami are still working hard no matter where they are. When this unit is chosen by the ability of your Smith in the order zone, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Zedhans' card name, until the end of your opponent's next turn, this unit cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects. So it is nice, it does get a cannot be chosen, but it does need, you know, you to be grade 3 or greater. So there is some drawback, it is not as fast as you thought it would be, but it's not too shabby, right? You can use this to protect yourself from Artisaria, it's not too bad, but it doesn't stop you from, you know, effects that don't target. So, you know, stuff like Vermilion, stuff like Basagra, you don't get that protection, unfortunately. The second skill is, when this unit attacks, if chosen by the ability of the Smith in your order zone this turn, +1, draw a card. So again, this is basically an infinite Vibatsuka. Like, as long as you just keep this on the board and have a Forge, you can just CB1, draw 1 every damn turn. It is very insane. This and your grade 3 Zedhlans is mainly where all your counterblast will go to. You don't really need any other counterblast sources than that because they are both repeatable. Even for Farhat, you will mainly use energy because there is no energy users for this deck. Again, this is a really strong card. I'm really impressed by it. It being a 15k draw 1 every turn. I love this thing so much. Our grade 1s, we obviously play the grade 1 Zedhlans. I don't think this is a surprise to anybody, but again, if you forgot what he does, just scroll back in terms of the timestamp. The grade 1s are actually very simple. We play for PG. You can play Sanctity if you want. We play for Shenri. Shenri does trigger when you play the Forge for the turn because it counts as play and order, so this is just easy. And then we play 4 copies of this guy. This is Wrought Iron Knight Hadid. Oh, this is a Wrought Iron Knight too. Okay. Wrought Iron Knight Hadid. When this unit boosts a unit chosen by the ability of your Smith in the order zone this turn, you can soul charge 1 if you want. Now, again, because you tend to target the units in the front with Forge, this guy just being as a booster does give you a nice soul charge if you want. But like, this skill rarely occurs. Like, almost 90% of the games, I just never use this. But you can if you want to. It was meant to fuel the grade 3 Rough Galer, Fierce Galer, sorry, but we don't play him anymore because he's complete ass. But you can if you want to, because you do have some Soul Blast cards in this deck. At the end of the battle that is unit boosted, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard Zedhlans in its card name and you didn't counter charge this turn, you can retire this unit and counter charge 1. So it's nice that Dragon Empire decks do carry their own form of Mobile Mind nowadays, especially for their modern decks. Again, this one is just an obligatory 4-off because this is also a Wrought Iron name, but definitely in the future I can see this being cut out. And last but not least, our grade 0s. Our grade 0s, obviously we play one of the small little grade 0 Zedhlans. This one again is obligatory because you need to ride on top of Zedhlans. We will play 8 crits. So I've chosen to be funny for today's video. I'm going to use the Triumph Dragon ones, so the Grandpa ones. So 8 crit for heal, 3 draw because we still need our pieces and we need to find Sharburn no matter the cost, and a blue OT. I'm playing blue OT only for this deck because you can't play Drought Vela. Drought Vela will stand the Vanguard and then after that, that's pretty much it, right? But the thing about Zedhlans is that he stands himself. So if you use that effect, you kind of lose out. So the blue OT is obviously the best choice because, you know, it's an extra crit. Who doesn't want an extra crit? And that will wrap up my deck profile for Zedhlans. I want to say in Divines, but I was like, oh wait, I've already covered this deck. In Festival 2025. I've honestly, as much as you can't tell from my voice because I am pretty sick right now, I am actually bursting with excitement when it comes to this deck. I frankly never thought I would be this happy for a Dragon Empire Legacy support because of how much they've disappointed me in recent years. especially with this recent 2025. But frankly, this off nights, Sibyl, I think Dragon Empire is really turning around for the best. I think this is frankly the best case scenario for what Dragon Empire should be in this year, and it finally feels good to me. It doesn't feel too forced, it doesn't feel too weak, it feels just nice. I'm really glad. I think Zedhlans getting a way to turbo out the Forge a turn earlier without it being the obvious and very, kind of boring and idiotic way of just, oh yeah, we're just gonna turbo another Forge into the order zone. Instead, it really plays on attacks by noticing it's not once per turn and giving it an ability to stand. Like, I mean, it's a small detail, but I am very impressed by it, right? And the fact that it's also a Wrought Iron, despite it being Blaze support, it is really good, right? Like, you can tell this card was designed for both of them in mind. You get the top 5 search for Blaze or the Standard Smith for Zedhlans, and his second skill, you give 5k to the front row. Generally, that's meant for Blaze, or you can give your Vanguard drive, that's meant for Zedhlans. But for like that second skill, you can mix and match, bro. You can just give 5k to the front row if you want, or you can just give the drive if you want. And such open-ended card design, despite it being relatively locked to only 2 bosses, I love it. And the fact that he has boost, even better. Like, it's so fair. It doesn't feel forced, it doesn't feel too strong, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like some ugly obligatory tournament promo that they just throw in my face every 2 months and say, go, beat the children for it. I'm really glad. Honestly, I couldn't be happier. This is exactly the kind of support I want to see in Dragon Empire. And I know I'm pre-recording this video, but Kidani, if you can hear me, this is the kind of card design I want to see when it comes to my decks in the future. Don't give us the shit you threw on Alfred. Don't give us the shit you threw on Balsagra. This is what I want to see. Fair card design that thinks about the problems of decks and really patches up on where they are needed in a fair and fun way. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Take care, everyone. We'll talk about festival again soon.